How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Supreme Tennis. Now, it's another one of our stroke analysis videos, and if you want to be able to rip your single-hander like Fabian here, stay tuned until the end of the video and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So, as you can see, we have Fabian demonstrating the one-handed backhand, and to me, honestly, I think it's all there. You know, he's got a great looking backhand, he's got good acceleration through the shot. Is nice and tiny from start to finish, and definitely looks like he can do some serious damage off what most people consider their weaker side. And you'll actually see at the end of the video, because we have some point play footage, some match play footage of him controlling and dictating the point with this shot. So stay tuned towards the end of the video for that. Now, obviously, as it is quite a short video, we can't cover everything, but we will cover plenty of important things, such as the type of grip used. We're going to look at the take back, or otherwise referred to as the loading phase. We're also going to look at how you can get that drop just before contact to generate more topspin. And then lastly, we're going to look at the finish, you know, how Fabian follows through on the stroke to get maximum results. And then most likely you'll be able to give yourself more time on the backhand if you practice these things. You're going to be able to generate more racket head speed and therefore get more power. And then, like we said, it's also going to help you get more spin to improve your consistency. And then ultimately, all these things in combination are going to help you win more matches. So the first thing we're going to discuss here is the grip and how to make that transition to the backhand grip from your ready position, whether you're in a chopper grip or a forehand grip. Just notice how he uses his left hand to make that switch. But before we look in a bit more detail at that, I just want to point out that Fabian is using an Eastern backhand grip. He may be a bit over towards an extreme Eastern, but not quite fully, and either are fine, whether you're using an Eastern backhand grip or an extreme Eastern, or if you're sort of in between the two, that's fine, whichever you decide to use. But those are your only options, especially if we're looking at the modern single-handed backhand. A chopper grip just isn't going to cut it. So again, just make note of how he uses his non-hitting hand to make the change to the backhand grip. He uses his left hand to twist and get in position to start the take back. And applying this will just save you a ton of time and help you prepare a lot sooner. We're then going to move on to the turn, or the loading phase, and I like how Fabian has his racket relatively high. This will help him get a bit more drop before contact when he eventually unloads into the acceleration phase. And then another thing I want to point out here, which isn't so easy to see, but I want you to imagine forcing your front shoulder forwards as you bring your racket back. And this just helps you to get more on the front foot. So remember, as you turn, as your racket goes back, you want to imagine pushing that shoulder in the opposite direction. Imagine that you're pushing that shoulder against the wall. And again, that will just help you get on the front foot and allow you to get more weight through the shot when you start to accelerate. Now let's take a second to look at the lower body and how the placement of the feet can determine how well you hit this shot. And I want to draw attention to the placement of his front foot, and notice how he steps across his body. A lot of recreational players again will make the mistake of stepping more towards the net as opposed to more laterally, like Fabian does so here. Stepping across the body will allow for a more natural turn, a bigger turn, and then ultimately more rotation when he starts to hit through the ball. And just pick up as well on how when he makes this step, he plants his heel first. And what we're going to discuss is heel to toe weight transfer. And if you can apply this successfully, you will be able to get even more power on your backhand. We're going to touch on that more in a second. Moving on, just look how much lower his racket head is below the ball. He is ready to drive through and up the ball to get both plenty of power and topspin. And then looking at his lead foot again, notice how he's planted his whole foot firmly on the ground to help fully commit to the shot. No pulling away or leaning back whatsoever. And that's just a result of applying that heel to toe method. Then we have the contact point. A little blurry here, but you can see that Fabian is meeting the ball out and in front of his body. Remember, as we mentioned in the previous analysis video on the forehand, keeping your body behind the face of the racket when at contact helps you get more weight going into the ball. And the exact same applies here on the backhand. And then of course we have to look at the follow through, and look how much he has opened his body. His finish here looks pretty similar to the way Stan Wawrinka finishes his backhand, one of the best single-handers around. hips facing fully towards the net, stretching the chest and squeezing the shoulder blades together. Many players will just split the arms without fully uncoiling the hips. You will lose out on a lot of power if this is the case. Swing with the intent that you are going to fully open your hips and shoulders when rotating and hitting through that ball. Also remember that your non-hitting arm will extend in the opposite direction. This is going to act as your sort of counterbalance and prevent you from over-rotating. So remember to squeeze those shoulder blades together on the finish to prevent this over-rotation and loss of control. And then another small but very important detail here is to make note of Fabian's back foot. Remember earlier at this point how his foot is lagging slightly behind him, but as he uncoils, the foot drags and opens up along with the body. Remember that everything is connected, and if your foot stays back behind you, when you decide to uncoil, when you start to rotate, you will struggle to get any sort of power. So just let that back foot drag along and carry through with the hips and the shoulders. Because remember, leaving it there is just going to restrict you from fully turning. Just to summarize again from another angle, we have the setup here, and remember to use your non-dominant hand to switch to the backhand grip and lift that racket head up. And then I also just want to mention that some players will actually set up even higher than this. Some will set up a lot lower. Others may have a completely different looking single-handed backhand altogether, one that is just as effective. But my point is, I'm not saying this is the best way to hit your single-hander. It's ultimately down to you. It's down to personal preference, what you're comfortable with, what you want to achieve with the shot. This is just an analysis video to make you aware of a few things that you can maybe play around with and tweak to further improve your backhand. And then also, there's just no doubt that Fabian has a great looking backhand here, so I was more than happy to use this footage. But anyway, moving on, we see that the nice setup in the loading phase. Then again, the racket head dropping below the ball to get topspin, followed by good contact out in front of the body. And then lastly, the full uncoiling of the hips, stretching the chest and squeezing those shoulder blades together. So yeah, let's just close out the video. That's what we had for you today. And we're going to finish off by playing some great footage of some actual points, some footage of how Fabian uses his backhand to dictate, to control, to win points. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. And then also just don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. You know, as we've said before, only 10% of our viewers are subscribers. There's a good 90% of our viewers who haven't subscribed, which is, you know, not a great stat to see, but you know, it's totally free. It really does help the channel to grow, and yeah, it pushes us to make even more content for you guys. So please subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment below. We respond to 100% of our comments, and hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks guys, take care.